Interesting days for both the armed forces and the Philippine National Police. 11 days into the new year, the AFP and the Defense Department welcome new chiefs. Over at the PNP, two top officials are turning in their courtesy resignations to make way for cleansing in the ranks. And then there's all of this talk of destabilization. What's going on? We talk about the shakeup in the military and the police force in this episode of The Chiefs. And welcome to this midweek edition of The Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. Kasama natin dito sa Mandaluyong in studio, Ed Lingao of One News, and online kasama natin si Ann Pumintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star, and Lucy Cruz Valdez, Head of News 5. Chiefs, happy Wednesday.
Happy midweek.
Happy Hump Day.
Ami, anong balita?
Stay in place daw, sabi ni Secretary Charlie Galvez sa mga nag-resign, mga nag-tender ng courtesy resignation. And all the officials in the DND, no? O tingnan natin kung matutuloy yung mga resignation na yun.
So yung musical chairs, ano muna, freeze muna sila.
Ay, hindi natin alam, baka nga irrevocable yung iba ron, di ba? Hindi natin alam.
Hindi, pero what are early indications? I mean, are people saying, okay, ano lang naman yun, ano nga sabi nila, customary lang naman, courtesy lang naman yun? Or are we seeing people saying, oh sige, kailangan namin pag-isipan yan?
Mukhang active naman si, si Secretary Galvez. Sabi niya, on defense team, sabi niya eh. So he's trying to unite the different forces, no? Saka to
Stay in place, eh. Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
And I think it helps that Galvez is, has a pretty good reputation in the armed forces. And he's pretty level-headed.
Yes.
I mean, from way back when he was a military official, his reputation is good.
Yes.
In the meantime, Ed, ano pang binabantay natin na balita?
Well, si Dali De Leon.
Oo. Binantayan natin yan, Golden Globe.
Masok.
Natalo ni Angela Bassett.
Nonetheless, congratulations pa rin kay Dali De Leon. You make us very, very proud.
Of course, yeah.
And we hope to finally taste your banana cake. O, banana bread. Yun ang ginawa niyang pandemya, nagbibenta siya.
Ay, wala ako dito nun. Sayang nakausap siya.
habang hinihintay niya lumabas yung Triangle of Sadness, nagbibenta siya ng banana bread.
Okay. Anyway, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina na ito nga, yung pinag-uusapan natin sa DND tsaka sa PNP, yan po ang pag-uusapan natin. Pagbalik natin, we just need to take a short break. We'll get to our first guest. After this break, the Chiefs will be right back. Recent changes in the military leadership are creating more questions than answers. It's even sparking rumors of unrest. Let's hear what a former Armed Forces Chief of Staff has to say. Joining us on the program, retired General and former Senator Rodolfo Biazon. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the Chiefs.
Evening, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Chiefs.
Kanina kung banggitin naman natin ng destabilization rumors, akala mo naman bago sa atin yun. Parati naman, matuwing may
Lalo si
change.
General, di ba? Si Senator wala.
Par for the course. But Senator, let me ask you, is there anything in the developments in the AFP and the PNP over this past week that gives you reason to be concerned?
I am not concerned insofar as destabilization is concerned. No? I don't think we are going to suffer again the destabilization suffered by former President Ferdinand Marcos that led to its power. Then the destabilization moves against President Cory. Destabilization moves against President Joseph Estrada and Arroyo. Macapagal Arroyo. They all suffered some kind of destabilization moves at the center of the chaos was the armed forces of the Philippines and the police.
Okay. Now, notwithstanding that, I said you were very clear. As far as destabilization talks are concerned, you're not concerned. So ulitin ko.
I am not concerned because,
tanggalin
you
po
know,
natin yung destabilization. Is there anything about the developments? Is there anything about the developments that does give you concern kahit pa hindi umabot sa destabilization?
That is correct. It gives me concern because this is the first time this happened this way. Meaning, the rigodon, so to speak, of the military leadership. Una, tinanggal si, General Centino.
Faustino.
Is
Centino,
still,
Centino.
under the old law, is still hindi pa retirable up to 4 February next month.
Yes.
Oh, okay. General Bacaro was retirable in September
Oo.
under the old law. Under the old law. Ngayon, I think there is a lot of explaining that some people or some agencies, some government must make. Kasi ito ang nakagulo eh. This is the first time in the armed forces of the Philippines where one who is not yet retirable, chief of staff, was removed. Ipinasok ang pinalitan, and then, itong pumalit, tinanggal uli. Tapos ang pinalit, yung tinanggal. So, ang question dito is this. Is the new law giving fixed terms to certain number of officers in the armed forces, yung Republic Act 11709, is this not yet in effect? I understand this was passed or enacted into law sometime July.
In May, sir. It was signed in May.
May.
Oh, signed in May but put into effect, I am told, sometime July. And, eto yan, kung ang bagong batas ay umiiral na, nung i-appoint si General Bacaro, he was entitled for a fixed term of 3 years. Okay. Now, ito, ang katanungan. Dahil General Bacaro was retirable September.
Yes, sir.
Kaya nung after September, under the old law, extended na siya. Unless, as I said, he's already covered by the new law. Now, in that case, was there an explanation why General Centino was removed?
Wala.
There was none.
Tapos na.
Was there an explanation why General Bacaro was removed? There was none. Was there an explanation why General Centino was put back into office? Then the other question is this. Is Centino, General Centino, now operating under the new law?
Oo.
Kasi if he is already operating under the new law, he should serve up to the year 2026. Yan. Now, I heard kanina that there are proposals to amend this new law, Republic Act 11709. The question is, and I heard Senate President saying that this evening, ano? And ang sabi ko, ano ang aamyendahan dyan? Which provision is being amended? Kasi ito under the new law, 8 senior officers in the armed forces, beginning with the Chief of Staff, all the commanders of the services, plus Vice Chief of Staff, etc., etc. Walo sila lahat Question, ano ang effect dito doon sa probable advancement ng men in waiting
Yes.
for this position? Ano ang epekto? Of course, alam natin kung ano epekto niyan. Mahuhold yung kanilang advancement. But I am not saying that I do not agree with the law, except I would agree with the new law if it has reference only to the Chief of Staff. Yun ang aking... as a matter of fact,
So sa
I
inyong
filed...
pananaw, kung aamyendahan, dapat i-confine lang sa Chief of Staff. Is that...
that was my position when I filed the same bill when I was in the Senate. Kanya lang, hindi kami nagkaintindihan ni former Senator Joker Arroyo on one issue. And the issue was defining very clearly ano ba ang extent nitong power of the President to hire and fire. You know? Kasi yung that is an inherent power of the President, especially when we are talking of a democratic, constitutional republic. You know? Merong ano talaga yan. I will not agree that that power to hire and fire of the President should be removed. That should always be there. But the question is, when you remove somebody, especially if the removal is not explained, especially, halimbawa, under the old law, General Centino would be serving up to February 4 this year, next month. Pero tinanggal siya. Pinalitan, tapos tinanggal yung pumalit, ibinalik siya. You know, I am concerned with the statement of former Executive Secretary Rodriguez. Ano ba sinabi niya? Nagkamali doon sa ginawa kay Centino. Nung pagtanggal kay Centino, pinalitan ni Bacaro, nagkamali daw doon. Ngayon, in my mind, I think they were trying to correct. If it was indeed wrong for them to remove Centino in the first place.
Sir, does it
However,
have anything to do with the 4-star rank? Because under the rules, only the Chief of Staff should have a 4-star rank.
that is correct.
And
Only 1-star
Centino
rank.
was the one with a 4-star rank.
That's
so
right.
he was removed. Bacaro became Chief of Staff, pero 3-star lang siya. And right now, ang nangyari, hanggang ngayon, hindi niya ma-claim yung 4-star rank. Do you think that that was part of it? But if it was, how would that be corrected?
Hindi, ito yung 3-star rank ni Bacaro, I think is still pending constitutional actions on the confirmation to 4-star rank. Ayun yun Kasi kailangan i-confirm yung 4-star rank mo
Pero hindi raw pwedeng dalawang 4-star. Tama ba yun?
Hindi. Tama yun. Because yung military service regulation and the law is saying that there should only be one 4-star general in the whole armed forces.
Kaya nga, which leads me to ask, baka naman yun ang kino-correct nila.
You see? Kita mo? I consider your question speculative. And therefore, the answer to your speculative question would be speculative. And danger with speculations is that it can be used by anyone who has something to advance.
Pero sir,
Ayan eh.
sir,
Ang pagkakamali dito was explanations of all of those things. There must have been clear explanation from the proper authorities kung ano yung nangyari.
Okay.
Wala.
Pero, sir,
Halimbawa ngayon, hanggang ngayon, di natin alam kung in-effect na yung Republic Act 11709. Ang
Yes,
sabi
sir.
nila, wala pang IRR.
Wala pang
Bakit wala pang IRR yan kung ito ay effective nung July pa?
yes sir. Pero sir, whether
A lot of things created this confusion.
yes sir. Pero sir, whether or not Malacanang made the mistake, so far our discussion has been whether or not the generals have been happy with the developments in the last few months. But at the risk of sounding naive, some would say na we would like to think that AFP has become more professional in the last decade or so and less
I agree.
political. But with what's been happening the past few weeks, you have generals airing their gripes, going public, and rumors of destabilization. Are we taking a step back here? Again, at the risk of sounding naive, in the end, of course, may epekto yan sa atin, yung feeling ng mga general. Pero, di ba, parang that was what we were trying to avoid, that they step beyond the ranks.
That's correct. So there must be clear and plausible explanations to all of these events. Starting with, bakit tinanggal si Centino? Bakit pinalit si Bacaro? Bakit tinanggal si Bacaro? Bakit pinalit si... Ito mga tanong na ito has something to do with an explanation of a clear understanding of the new law.
Okay. Now,
Kaya,
now
sir,
Senator,
sa tingin nyo, mako-correct ba yan, Senator? Kasi merong clause dyan sa RA 11709 allowing actually the President to end the fixed term.
Section
yung
2.
nakalagay doon, unless otherwise terminated by
That is correct.
So, bali wala actually yung fixed term na yon. He can do it
Hindi
anytime.
naman. No. Hindi huwag mong baliwalain yan. Sapagkat that is a law. The question is, there must be a clear understanding, clear explanation of why you are remove somebody, you put somebody in, then you remove that somebody, and then you... so the question now is a confusion
yes.
of the effectivity of that law. We cannot, we cannot remove the power of the president to appoint and to remove.
Senator, Senator, babalikan ko lang po yung...
Kung gano'n, di ba? Bakit siya
Hindi,
tinawag na fixed term?
Hindi, ito yan eh.
Ang nakalagay kasi yung Senator doon sa...
Ito. Yung fixed term has reference to the maximum allowable
Of duty.
term. Yes. Hindi siya pwede lumampas doon. Pwede siya
buwasan.
tanggalin.
Pero yung intent ng...
Pero, teka muna. Pwede siyang tanggalin, pero dapat maliwanag ang dahilan.
nga pa.
Wala naman nakalagay
Senator,
doon maliwanag ang
Senator, doon po yung tanong ko po. Senator, I'll get to that point that you're stressing na kailangan may explanation dito. But I also want to go back to your earlier point.
That is correct.
You stressed from the very start, I'm not concerned about destabilization. This will not lead to destabilization.
Exactly.
So that's very clear. So my question
That's
is,
correct.
short of an explanation, and if we leave things as confusing as they are, what is the worst implication of this current situation on our military establishment, our officers, and the rank and file?
Speculations by some sectors for their own purposes. Halimbawa, yung enemies of the state can use that, can use this to because the objective of the enemies of the state, especially yung internal security, no, is to destabilize the government. Kanya kailangan maliwanag na ma-explain. Medyo nag-iba ako sa explanation ni former Executive Secretary Rodriguez na tinanggal, ibinabalik si Centino to correct a previous mistake. That mistake supposedly was supposed to be the removal of Centino without cause, without explanation. Nagkamali daw ang Malacanang. Kaya ngayon tinanggal yung bago si General Bacaro at ibinalik si Centino.
Okay.
In my view, this is trying to correct a mistake with another mistake.
Now, speaking of something that we want to correct, sir, we do want to get back as well to 11709. And the fact that, as you said,
Yes.
you had filed a bill similar to this with the same objectives. Maybe we could also step back and you could explain to us and talk to us also about the reality of this revolving door at the top of the AFP, what we need to correct there, and how hard is it, especially given what we're seeing now, how hard is it to fix that practice and that culture?
Ito yan the new law cannot really completely remove the revolving door, no? But when you execute revolving door events, there must be legal plausible explanation why you are removing something. Hindi nangyari yan dito Hindi nangyari kay Centino, hindi nangyari kay Bacaro, at ngayon, ito na naman ang problema. Will Centino be allowed to serve the fixed term of 3 years? Unless, of course, the president will invoke the power to hire and fire. We cannot, and I will not agree with any removal of that power of the president to appoint and to remove. But dapat merong legal process, merong legal Hindi halimbawa, yung nangyari kay Centino, tinanggal siya, hindi pa naman siya retirable. Was there an explanation why? There was none. Tinanggal although si Bacaro was supposed to be retirable September pa. So meaning, if the old law was operating, the service of Bacaro from September up to date, extended siya nun. Ayun
Kung in-exercise nga, Senator, yung presidential, it's a presidential prerogative And it's actually in the law, it's 11709, nandun siya na he can exercise that prerogative. Pero kung wala naman talaga, it's not for cause, basta gusto lang niya Kasi
that is correct.
Di ba? You want someone who is there, who can be trusted by the commander-in-chief. He doesn't even have to say, di ba? So kaya ba siya amendahan ng law, yung prerogative na yan? Can it be required by law na wag kang tigilan mo na yung revolving door na yan? Can it actually be legislated? Kasi nakikita natin, hindi na makaya ng law na yan
You can legislate anything under the sun.
Yeah.
Okay. Provided it goes through the correct legislative process. Okay? And provided the general public would accept it. Kasi if you legislate something and it is not it's not a good legislation, you will get a reaction from the populace. And the reaction might not be what the country needs.
Well, sir.
Outside of those who intend to destabilize or to use this as an opportunity to destabilize. No, internally, is the confusion agitating the soldiers and the military? Anong epekto nito?
Yes, there will be. I think you have heard some comments from some soldiers, from officers, but it cannot be in the same destabilizing effect, in the same manner as what happened to President Marcos, but the old one, no?
Not to
and then
that
President
extent.
Aquino, President Erap, President Gloria all of them, they suffered some kind of destabilization, and at the center of the destabilization was the armed forces of the Philippines. I think our soldiers and our generals have learned from the past. So, hindi ako kinakabahan na ito'y lalala, ano? Of course, there are certain concerns being raised. Confusion is the right word probably dyan. There is this confusion. And that is the reason why we need an explanation of all of these events.
Pero,
Huwag
sir,
na tayong na yung mga sundalo, magmamarsya na naman kung saan dyan, lalabas yung mga tangke dyan, lilipad yung aeroplano, challenging the government. We have learned a lesson from the past events in this country.
yes, sir. Pero, sir, what does this do nga to the armed forces as it is now? An armed forces that we thought had taken great steps in professionalizing in the last decade or so. I go back to my question kanina eh. Is this a step back as far as the professionalization of the armed forces is concerned?
I don't think that way, all I'm asking now is a proper explanation. Number one, anong nangyari? Ano ba bakit ginawa yung nangyari, no? Pangalawa, a clearer definition of the new law. Is it now in effect? Or is it not in effect? And I cannot accept the reason na wala pa yung IRR.
Actually, to that point,
I cannot accept that.
to that,
Matagal na yung batas eh. And according to that law, the law is supposed to be effective 16 days after its enactment, after the president signed it into law. 16 days, it should be in effect. Ngayon, I cannot accept. For example, kung halimbawa July pinas yan, by August, in effect na yan. Bakit hindi pa, wala pang IRR ngayon?
To that point, Senator, is it possible that when it comes to this law, which is really central to this, and the reform that we want, particularly to stabilize the leadership, give it a longer runway, take away the revolving door that stabilizes policy and so on, that notwithstanding the good intentions for this reform, that what we're actually seeing is a symptom of the system, if not, in fact, the people, rejecting the reform or having an awkward time wanting to accept that reform. Kasi if it was not, in fact, an awkward attempt to correct a technical mistake with regards to Centino and Bacaro, it's inescapable. Filipinos will speculate, well, if it was not that, an awkward attempt to correct, it must have been powerful or at the very least self-interest are at play, putting their pressure upon the current leadership, essentially resisting the beginnings and the taking root of this reform.
Well, I think at the root of this is the fact that there is now a claim na hindi pa in effect ang batas because wala pang IRR. There lies the problem. Bakit hindi pa in effect samantalang July ba ito?
May, sir. May pa yan. Sino ba dapat ang gumagawa ng IRR na yan, sir?
Well, there are several ways of doing it. One is by the department concerned. In other words, the DND.
Isa
Of
pang
course,
medyo
in consultation with the armed Of course, in consultation with the armed forces. And sometimes there is even a need or requirement for the IRR to be submitted to village legislators.
Yeah. For their
Kung
final.
tama ba yung IRR o hindi. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa raw ano. Kaya, so, I think that's one of the root causes of this confusion. Let us not say destabilization. Confusion is, I think, the proper term to be used.
Okay.
Last na lang, sir. What about your thoughts on the DND shuffling also? I mean, tinanggal din si General Faustino. And he was
Hindi siya tinanggal.
yeah, he resigned.
He resigned.
But he was claiming that he was not
Exacto.
hold of General Centino Supreme. What about your thoughts on that?
Hindi ko I cannot really know what comes in the heads of Secretary, quote-unquote, Faustino. Hindi ko alam kung bakit siya nag-resign. Excuse me. But in my case, if I am in the same position, being guaranteed some level of power, and you think you are kept out of the loop, anong sabihin mo sa sarili mo? Ba, binabaliwala yata ako dito.
Okay.
Baka yun ang nasa isip ni Faustino, Secretary Faustino. Hindi natin alam kung bakit, umalis siya. Pero to me, thinking about it, I could only find that reason. The reason for him getting out is that he thought he was being kept out of the loop. Ayun ang being kept. Meron ka kapangyarihan nangyayari. Something is happening in your kingdom Tapos hindi pinapaalam sa'yo.
Sige
something is wrong.
Tapa. We will have to leave it at that. Nabusan na po tayo ng oras. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng oras sa inyo. General, Senator, maraming salamat po.
I agreed for this interview. I am a retired public servant, but I am not a retired citizen. I am not retired as a citizen.
Opo. Former
Kaya salamat doon sa inyong
retired general and former senator and citizen, Rodolfo Biazon. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you, sir.
Maraming salamat to the chiefs.
And we'll start up another conversation after this break. Keep it here on One News.
Walang destabilization plot sa hanay ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. Yan ang giniit ng Philippine National Police matapos kumalat na memorandum na binabantayan daw nila ang kilos ng mga sundalo.
far as the stabilization is concerned, I don't think there is one because I also talked to the Chief of Staff, the Minister Chief of Staff, Sir Andres Asentino last night. At ang sabi nga niya is he gave the assurance that the PNP and the AFP will work hand in hand in ensuring that the Marcos administration will be very stable.
The investigation continues on the fake memorandum that went viral over the weekend, ordering all units of the National Police Force to be on full alert status. PNP spokesperson, Police Colonel Jean Fajardo said that the source of the fake memo has already been identified.
Isa po sa possible administrative liability na po pwede po nilang pakakapin is ito pong tinatawag po natin ng mga unauthorized release or publication po ng mga confidential or classified documents. Pwede rin po silang mahakap sa criminal case kung sapat po yung basihan natin.
Hundreds of police officials have filed their courtesy resignations in response to the Interior Department's appeal. How many of these will be accepted? Let's hear an update from PNP spokesperson Colonel Jean Fajardo. Colonel Fajardo, welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening, Sir Ma'am.
Magandang gabi po. And thank you again for joining us, Colonel. Colonel, of course, we will get to the issue of the resignations, but I'd like to ask you something muna in relation to yung pinalabas namin ngayon lang, yung intro para sa inyo po. Konti paglilinaw naman po, ito po bang mga memong lumabas are they fake memoranda or were they just simply unauthorized release of classified memoranda? Magkaiba po yun.
That is correct, Sir Ed. Napag-explain na po natin yung mga officer whose names were mentioned and whose names appears doon po sa mga dokumento po na lumabas over the weekend. They deny issuing those memorandum, but nonetheless, pinag-explain na po sila at iniimbestigahan pa rin po yan. At initially po ay may mga na-identify na po yung PNP ACG kung sino po yung nag-release po nitong mga dokumento na ito. At iniintay po natin yung paglabas po nila ng official report po nila.
Pero Colonel, kasi just a while ago you were quoted as saying na administrative liability ang titingnan niyo for those who were responsible for the unauthorized release of confidential memoranda. So kaya nga po naitatanong namin kung ito nga ba talaga'y confidential lamang na memorandum na hindi dapat ni-release o ito talaga'y pineke lamang out of thin air?
Kung mapapansin natin, Sir Ed, dalawa yung version po ng lumabas po ng mga dokumento. Meron po mga unsigned documents at meron naman po may mga signature. That is why that is part of the investigation being conducted. I don't want to preempt po yung ongoing investigation. But doon po sa mga dokumento na may mga pirma ay tinitignan po natin yung possibility na probably there were unauthorized disclosure and publication nga po ng mga classified matter. That is why yung ating pong CIDG ay inatasan na rin pong i-identify kung meron po pa talagang unauthorized disclosure po ng classified matters. And if that is the case, then yung mga officers po responsible for the unauthorized publication would be held accountable for issuing those memorandum without the proper authority po.
Ma'am, if we're hearing that right, basically you're saying it's both. Na merong peke at the same time you are still investigating. We don't want to preempt, as you said, but you are investigating the possibility that there was actually a leak of what were essentially official documents. So it's both.
Well, that is what I'm saying, sir. There are at least 2 or 3 documents that were released on the social media over the weekend, wherein there were those unsigned ones and there were those with a signature, and that is now the focus of investigation. If indeed there were documents signed by those officers mentioned in the documents, and they were already made to explain, but they were denying the existence of these documents, and even the regional directors were already directed to investigate and explain, and they themselves claimed that they did not issue those documents. But nonetheless, we are not preempting the ongoing investigation. That is why my claim if indeed there were issuance of these documents, then they may be held liable for unauthorized release of those classified documents.
Colonel, meron din kaming story ngayon na you are investigating civilians who uploaded yung mga memo nga na yan. Can you give us more details? Kasama ba dyan ang media or dati ba yung mga retired ba yan na PNP or members of the uniformed services? Yung mga dating mga members? Yung mga civilians na yan?
That is correct, Ma'am Ami. Based on the information shared to us by the ACG, they initially identified one individual outside of the PNP organization that may have leaked the said documents, and this is now one of the focus of the investigation to reach out to that individual to find out who is the source of the document they posted in the social media over the weekend po.
So isang civilian lang pala yon, isa lang. Akala ko may several civilians.
Initially, that is the information relayed to us by the director of the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group, but we have to get updates whether there are more personalities or persons that had been identified aside from the one individual that was mentioned to us by the ACG po.
Colonel, how is the leadership of the PNP taking all of this? Are they directly connecting it to the request of the ILG secretary for them to turn in their resignations, at least the 900 or so that are being requested to turn in it? Are they taking this as a negative reaction to the directive?
Well, there is really no connection with respect to, if you're referring to the documents that were released over the weekend and relating it to the call for the courtesy resignation of senior officers of the PNP. There is really no connection with respect to the alleged destabilization plot that was floated during the weekend.
In any case po, nandito na po tayo sa topic na we've started to talk about this call for courtesy resignations. May update po ba tayo doon? Ilan na po ang nagbigay and what percentage of those who had been asked had actually turned in their resignations? And then what happens now to those who did give and those who have not yet tendered their resignations?
Yes, Sir Robbie, as of 12 noon today, more or less around 80 to 81% of the total of 954 PNP senior officers have already submitted their respective courtesy resignation, more or less around 700 plus out of the 954. But we expect, and the GPNP expects that within this week, more courtesy resignation will reach the national headquarters of the Philippine National Police.
Okay, and ano po ngayon ang proseso on both tracks, whether nag-submit o hindi?
Well, our GPNP has said during his interview that he will be waiting for the submission of the all courtesy resignation at least up to January 31. But like I said, we're only waiting for more or less 20% of the total of 954, and he is expecting that within the week this will all be completed. But if in case this week will not be enough, then he will wait until January 31 for all the courtesy resignation to be submitted to the national headquarters.
PNP Chief Azurin said in an interview that he was willing to talk to the hesitant police officers. Has he actually done it? Has he begun the task of convincing them?
That is correct, Ma'am Lucy. That's why if and when this week there will still be a senior officer that will not be submitted their courtesy resignation within the week, our GPNP has said that he will take the extra mile to talk to this senior officer that may have still some reservation of submitting their courtesy resignation, and he will wait until the end of the month for them to finally submit their courtesy resignation. And then in the event that after January 31, there will still be a senior officer that will opt not to submit their courtesy resignation. Then, according to him, we don't want to preempt the ongoing process, but there are already plans on how to deal with those who will opt not to submit their courtesy resignation by the end of the month.
Pero ma'am, procedurally, is there anything that the PNP can do for those who refuse to submit voluntary courtesy resignations? I mean, procedurally or legally, may magagawa ba ang PNP?
Well, I don't want to preempt the official pronouncement of our Chief PNP, but like he said during his press conference last Monday, let us wait for the process to proceed, and we will cross the bridge when we get there in the event that the January 31 deadline will lapse, and there are senior officers who will decide not to submit. Then there are corresponding action that will be taken, and we will wait for the decision of our PNP po.
Yes, well, we do understand that we will cross the bridge when we get there. Pero of course, even from across the bridge, you know what is on the other side of the bridge. That's what I also mean. Procedurally, I know you're saying nga na gagawin natin pag dumating na tayo doon. Pero yun nga, babalik sa tanong ko, ano bang procedurally maaaring magawa? Kung sakali.
Yes, sir, Ed. And with due respect to our GPNP and the DLG, I don't want to preempt their plans and action if in case na we will reach that stage na meron na pong hindi mag-submit. And sabi naman po nila, even the SILG na let us wait first and then we will speak up on the matter if we reaches that stage po.
Colonel, yung original na intent netong call na to for the resignations para lang to weed out daw the officials na involved sa drugs. Pero ngayon, ang sabi, magkakaroon na ng lifestyle check. So you're expanding the probe na, kasama na ba dyan ang mga corruption, yung iba pang offenses?
Well, when the GPNP was asked how will the evaluation and assessment proceed, and he mentioned that one of the procedure that will be undertaken by the 5-man committee during the conduct, evaluation, and assessment is the conduct of a lifestyle check for the 954 senior officer. And as of now, we are also waiting for the 5-man team to be named, officially named and complete. We will wait on how will they proceed with their evaluation and assessment. And in the event they will that the lifestyle check will be included in the process, then I think the senior officer will welcome that because again, the intention and wisdom behind the decision of the submission of the courtesy calls has already been explained to us, and we fully support the intention of the GPNP, our SLG, and in fact, the 80% submission of the courtesy resignation, at least within today, at least up to this day, as a clear indication that we are serious in our intention to cleanse the rank of the PNP, particularly the senior officers of the PNP.
Pero ma'am, ulitin ko lang po yung if you don't mind, follow up ko lang po yung tanong ni Ami. We understand what you're saying. A lifestyle check is a tool, it's a strategy, it's part of the methods that we can look into any problems. But a lifestyle check also could suggest many other things, among them corruption. So just to repeat that question, are we widening the scope of this movement and this campaign by the DALG to include not just lifestyle checks to ferret out drug-involved officers, but for that matter, officers who may be involved in corruption?
Remember, Sir Robbie, that the focus of the investigation is the innuendos and insinuation that some high-ranking officials are involved in illegal drugs activities. And when we speak of involvement in illegal drug activities, it follows that there is corruption already involved. And when we speak of lifestyle check, then there will be some determination whether your asset, your way of living is does not
Colonel, complicated lagi ang lifestyle check. Sinubukan na yan sa ibang agency like the DPWH. You might need to call in other agencies. May balak ba kayo? Halimbawa, Bureau of Internal Revenue, yung Anti-Money Laundering Council. May balak ba kayo na humingi ng tulong sa kanila?
Well, I don't want Ma'am Ami to preempt the formal announcement on how the 5-man committee will really conduct their evaluation and assessment. And we are just like you and our people, we are also awaiting for the convening of this 5-man committee on how they proceed dito nga po sa assessment and evaluation. These are all speculation, these are all assumption, and kami rin po mismo na mga involved, I myself is also waiting for the final determination and yung parameters po kung ano nga po ba yung gagawing evaluation and assessment sa amin po, and kung kinakailangan nga po na isubject nga po kami sa lifestyle check, if that will be part of the process, then we will accept the challenge po.
In the meantime,
Colonel, if we bring this to its logical end, no? So ang mangyayari ba dito? So if they submit their courtesy resignations, pag tinanggap, yun ba yung mga kakasuhan ninyo? Ganun ba yun? Yun ba yung presumption na pag tinanggap nyo yung resignation, ibig sabihin, kasama kayo dun sa mga dapat imbestigahan? Tama ba yun? And if so, isn't that a prejudgment in a way without proper investigation?
Ang explanation po sa amin, we were challenged to submit our courtesy resignation because sabi nga natin, ma'am, dalawang PNP personnel ay involved. Ang apektado ay ang buong hanay ng kapulisyahan. So nung in-explain po sa amin yan, let's start from the highest officer of the PNP, which is the Chief PNP. Tayo mismo ang maghain ng courtesy resignation para once and for all, malinis tayo. Kasi alam po natin, ma'am, na dito po sa more or less 800 plus na police colonels, dito rin po tayo hugot na mga susunod na mamumuno po sa PNP.
Pero ma'am,
Ibig sabihin nga nun, pag tinanggap, ibig sabihin,
may bahid.
You're involved.
Well, again, ma'am, sabi ko nga po, I don't want to preempt po kung ano nga po yung magiging proseso. But sabi nga natin, we are hoping nga po na dito, nabanggit niyo po kanina na 10 lang, more or less 10 lang po yung subject of investigation. Ito lamang po ba yung tatanggapin na resignation o may iba pa po? Then I don't want to go that far at this time. Suffice to say that we are hoping, and majority of the senior officers are hoping that by submitting ourselves dito nga po sa process nga po ng evaluation and assessment, we will be cleared eventually of any wrongdoing, particularly involvement in illegal drugs activities.
Kasi ma'am, isa na lang tanong, it's still related to that, I hope you don't mind. Kasi yung taong bayan ang nagtatanong na, I mean, beyond the process, we don't need to, we understand, we don't want to preempt the process, but beyond that, yung objectives, and paano ba namin tatanggapin to bilang taong bayan? Sa isang banda, kung tanggapin nyo, ibig sabihin ba kaming taong bayan dapat namin pagsuspetsahan yan na may bahid yan kasi tinanggap yung ano. On the other hand, lahat ng mariretain at hindi tatanggapin ng courtesy resignation, are we also supposed to take na lahat yan malinis?
Well, yun din po yung aming panawagan na Sir Robby na ay maging katanggap-tanggap. Kaya nga ang request nga po na namin na kung ano po yung gagawing process nga isa na maging transparent ito, maging independent talaga at maging walang halong politika. Hindi lang para maging katanggap-tanggap po dito sa mga 954 senior officers, kundi maging katanggap-tanggap din po sa mamamayang Pilipino. Kasi kung meron pa rin reservations yung ating mga mamamayan, in spite of the fact na kami mismo nga po ay tumanggap to this challenge, and then it defeats the purpose of submitting ourselves to this process. Kaya nga po kami na po mismo, yung mga senior officer ang dumaan sa proseso. We are putting at stake our more than 30 years of police service. And napakabigat po sa amin noon ng mga senior officers. Hindi lang po kami ang apektado, mga pamilya. But the fact of we heeding this call and this challenge is really a manifestation on our part that we are really serious in cleaning our ranks. And hopefully, sa paggawa po namin ito, yung amin pong mga mabababang ranggong mga pulis will also take our lead na sila mismo ay makakakuha po ng magandang inspirasyon sa ginagawa po ng mga leadership po ng PNP.
Okay, Colonel Jean Fajardo. Ma'am, maraming salamat po.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Colonel.
much, sir, ma'am.
Thank you, Colonel.
Tama.
Si Colonel Fajardo po, spokesperson ng Philippine National Police. And that is it for the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed will keep the conversation going. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.